All right, today we're doing more than just talking about cloud security. We're actually going to build something. A fortress, a digital one, of course, and it's designed to protect your most valuable stuff from a threat that can literally knock you offline in minutes. I'm talking about a DDoS attack. So let's get building.
So let me ask you something straight up. Think about your application, the one you've poured all that time and effort into. Now, what if it was suddenly just swamped by a tidal wave of junk traffic? And the only goal of this traffic is to take you completely offline. This isn't some hypothetical what-if game. Nope, this is a real thing that happens every single day. So the real question is, are you ready for it?
Yeah, that flood, it's got a name. It's a distributed denial of service attack, or DDoS for short. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a nasty attempt to just overwhelm your application's resources so that your real legitimate users, well, they can't get in anymore. The best way to picture it? Imagine a huge mob blocking the front door to your business. No one can get in or out. And these attacks, they are massive. We're talking about volumes of traffic that no single business could ever hope to handle on its own.
So how in the world do you defend against something like that? Well, think about building a real fortress. You don't just, start piling up rocks and hope for the best, right? No way. You need a blueprint. You need a solid foundation. And that is exactly how we're going to approach this in Azure.
And you know what? Laying the groundwork is actually pretty straightforward. Step one, you're going to create something called a resource group. Just think of this as the piece of land you've bought to build your fortress on. It's the container for all your stuff. Then, step two, you create a DDoS protection plan. This is your master blueprint. This is the thing that tells Azure's enormous global network, hey, be ready to soak up all that bad traffic before it even gets close to my app.
Okay, so we've got our blueprint. Now comes the really cool part. It's time to raise the walls. This is where we take that plan we just made and apply it right to our virtual network. We're building that strong defensive perimeter.
And this right here, this is probably the most critical step of all. A blueprint just sitting on a table doesn't actually protect anything, right? You've got to connect it. You have to take that DDoS protection plan and link it directly to the virtual network where your applications live. This is the moment, bam, your fortress walls are officially up.
And you know what's wild? How ridiculously simple Azure makes this part. We're not talking about writing complicated code or fiddling with 100 different settings. Nope. You just go into the portal, find your virtual network's security tab, click Enable, and pick the plan you just made. That's it. And that simplicity, it's totally by design. The whole idea is to make this super powerful enterprise-level security easy for anyone to use.
All right, so the walls are up, we're feeling pretty good, but a fortress with blind spots is a pretty weak fortress, isn't it? So now we need to build our watchtowers and rig up the alarm bells. We need to be able to see what's going on.
Think about it. Strong walls are great, but they really only half the story. You need eyes on those walls. You need guards scanning the horizon. You have to be able to spot an attack as it's happening so you know for sure that your defenses are doing their job.
And this is basically your view from the watchtower. Azure Metrics gives you all the data, the telemetry on your defenses. And check out this one metric right here. Inbound packets dropped DDoS. That's not just some random number on a chart. Oh no. That is your guard on the wall, literally counting every single malicious packet that gets blocked. It's the proof, the hard evidence, that your defenses are actually working.
And if you want to get really granular, like for a deep dive analysis, you can turn on detailed diagnostic logs. Think of these as the after-action reports your guards write up. They give you the whole story of what happened during an attack, which is super useful for learning the enemy's playbook and making your defenses even stronger next time.
But hey, having a guard in a watchtower doesn't do much good if they can't tell anyone what they see, right? That's where alerts come in. These are your alarm bells. You set up a really simple rule. The signal is basically a yes or no question. Are we under DDoS attack? As soon as the answer is yes, that alarm bell rings loud and clear, and you get notified instantly.
So there we have it. Our fortress is built. The walls are strong. The watchtowers are staffed. The alarms are primed and ready. But we're not done just yet. There is one last absolutely crucial step. We need to run a fire drill. We've got to test this thing.
And I really love this saying. A fortress is only as good as its last test. It's so true. Because if you build all this stuff and never check if it works, well, that's not a security strategy, that's just hope. And hope is not a plan. You've got to know for sure that it's going to work before a real attack happens.
So with our fortress all set up, Azure actually gives you a safe way to put it to the test.
You can work with these approved simulation partners, like a company called Breaking Point Cloud, and they will launch a controlled, fake DDoS attack against your own stuff. It's basically a war game. You get to see how your defenses hold up under a real-world style siege, but without any of the actual risk. And that's really the whole point of the fire drill, right? It's to make sure everything works together, just like it's supposed to. Do the walls, your protection plan, actually stop the bad traffic? Do the watchtowers, your metrics, show you what's happening? And do the alarms actually ring? When you test, you can make sure the answer to all those questions is a big, confident yes.
So there you go. The blueprint is complete. Your digital fortress is standing tall with its strong walls and its vigilant watchtowers. You've built a seriously powerful defense. So now there's only one question left, and it's the most important one of all. What are you going to protect with it?
In this section of lab, we'll focus on design and implement network security. So the very first one that we are going to do that is configure DDoS protection on a virtual network using the Azure Portal. So if you check here, so the very first thing that we are going to create a research group, then we'll do a DDoS protection plan. And after that, we'll enable protection on new virtual network that we are going to create. And after that, we are going to set also DDoS telemetry, configure DDoS diagnostic logs, and configure DDoS alerts, and then test with a simulation patterns. So let's start the lab. I'll share this Microsoft Learning GitHub repo into description section so that you can follow this lab when you do that in your own environment. So here I have already connected to Azure Portal and select that create a resource group, so you can see that create a resource. So select that one. Then you can search from here. You can also go back like home or resource group. You can see that one. So select that resource group under our resources and then click create. So here give a resource group name, select the region, and then we are not adding any tags for our lab environment. Click on review plus create and then click on create. So the very first task that we have completed, created a resource group. Second task is that we are going to create a DDoS protection plan. So for that, into that search options, here search for DDoS and select that DDoS protection plans. And when you get this window, click on create. And on the basic tabs, you can see that a subscription is there. Select the resource group that we just created. Then give a DDoS protection plan instance details. So give a instance details name. We're not adding any tags, so select review plus create. Validation is in progress. So when validation passed, click on create button. So deployment is initialized. The deployment completed. We can click go to resource. So we can see that DDoS protection plan is created now. Next task, we are going to enable DDoS protection on new virtual network. So that part we are going to create a virtual network. So into the search place, select for VNet. And here, when you are that page, network foundations, virtual network, click on create. Basic tab, select subscription, select resource group, then give a VNet name. we are giving my virtual network, and then go to next tab, which is security. Now here you can see that under security there is a encryption, Azure Bastion, Azure Firewall, and down below you can see that Azure DDoS network protection. So click that enable options, and when we enable, then it's getting that to select protection plan. So we'll select the protection plan we just created. So select the protection plan, then click on review plus create. So validation is in progress. Validation passed, so click on create to enable DDoS protection plan. So you can see our deployment is complete. So select go to resource, and we can see that here the network we have got already protection plan enabled. So if you look down below under capabilities, you can see those are not configured, but DDoS protection plan is configured. So in our next task, we are going to configure DDoS telemetry. So for that, let's go to, of, because of that, we need to create a public IP address and then set up telemetry in our next step. So let's go back to home, click on create a resource. Then here, search for public IP. Click on public IP address. You can see that on public IP address, you can click create an public IP address. Then subscription, select the resource group, then region. Then configuration details, and there we need to give a name. So give a name that my public IP address. And then SQ option, we are going to select standard, and availability zone, zero redundant, and tier we are going to select regional. Give a DNS name label, and then click on review plus create. So you can validate. When validation passed, click on create button. So deployment succeeded. Click on go to resource. So we can see that my public IP address is completed. So now to set up telemetry, we need to go back to home, and then here you see that under all resources, select that DDoS protection plan, and then you can see the different option left side, select on monitoring, expand that one, and then select metrics. Now you can see that is scope, it has got the DDoS protection plan. um, Metric can select, sorry, okay, let me go through all this. So when you select that scope, and here you can see that I'm going to monitor that my public IP address, select that options, that checkbox next to my public IP address, then click on apply. Now under metric, select inbound packets drop DDoS. Inbound packets drops DDoS option. Then aggregation section, select max. Save to dashboard. We can also pin that one. If you have a Grafana option, then you can also pin to Grafana. Configured that DDoS telemetry. You because it's just fresh new environment, therefore you cannot see data. But if you when you have data, then you can select different types of chart options. You can also add that alert rules and much more. So now we'll configure DDoS diagnostic logs. So for that, let's go back to all resources sections and select that uh, my public IP address. And here and go to expand monitoring and select diagnostic settings. When that page came, you can see here that add diagnostic settings. So click that options. So here we have to give a diagnostic settings name. Then after that, you can see that there are different categories, group categories, and options there. So under category categories group, we can select what the options we want. So let's go for all logs. Then you can see that it's already selected all three of those. And then deselect this option, clicked on metrics, and then destination details, select that send logs to log analytic workspace checkbox. So when you select the destination details, we can see that it normally give you also options for log analytics workspace, but we did not create any log analytic workspace. So we can just, that's how we can do that one. But for our lab, we can just deselect these options. But we can select logs under there. We can select audit. We can select all logs. And for this, as we mentioned, we can go through and select the workspace. And when our selection is done, and then normally save button will be enabled, and we can uh, enable that option diagnostic settings. So in our case, we are just going to discard. Click the discard options. And when it's giving a message, are you sure you want to discard your changes? Yes, click yes button. So we have successfully completed how we can set up DDoS diagnostic logs. Next, we'll go to the configuring DDoS alerts. So for that, select create a resource. We're going to create a VM, and then we'll set that up alert options. So select virtual machine, click on virtual machines. Now click on create. Then we are going to select subscriptions, going to select resource group. Then give a virtual machine name. Select region, select availability zone options. So in our case, no infrastructure redundancy required. Then select an image. So you want to server 2404 LTS X64 Gen 2. Let's see if we have. You go to solve all image. Lab, it's mentioned that go for Ubuntu server, but 2204. Let's close this one. So that is fine, I think. Let's go through with this one and select VM architecture 64. Size is standard D2S V3, that is fine. Now authentication type is SSH public key. So we have to give a username. Azure user is fine. Then it's coming like generate new key pair. And it's coming give a key pair name. So let's give a key pair name. Then public inbound port, select none. Then click on review plus create. All others options we are just taking all the default value, not changing anything, all those. So click review plus create. So validation passed. Clicked on create button to create VM. So because we added generate new key pair, which is record, so therefore we need to download a private key which will be used to authenticate, or we need to pass that private key to connect to this VM. So click on download private key and create resource. So you can see private key is downloaded. It's in downloads folder. So deployment is complete now. Now click on go to resource. And we can see that our VM is created. So now we are going to assign the public IP address. So when you are in virtual machines, you are in overview sections. So then you can see the different options available here. But now let's go to networking. Under settings, oh, here is networking. Let me find the options. Where is that options available? So you can go straight from here. You can see that when my virtual machine, and you can see that under networking, network interface. So click that network interface. And when you are in network interface, select that settings or expand that setting options. And you can see that IP configuration. So select that IP configuration. And here down below, you can see that IP config. So select that IP config one. And here, private IP address, public IP address. So under public IP address, select the public IP address that we created. So my public IP address, and then click save. So public IP address configuration has been done. Now we'll go through configure DDoS alerts. And so for that, let's go back to all resources section. From here, select that my public IP address, and you can go to alerts under monitoring sections. So click that alerts options, and we are going to create a alert rule. So here you can see that alert rule and different options available. So click on alert rules options. Then here click on create, and then under conditions tab, signal name, select that under DDoS attack or not. Those two are same, so you can select either one of them. And then alert threshold is fine. We'll check for alert logic. Threshold type, aggregation type. So when you are in condition tabs, under alert logic, select that value or operator to greater than or equal to. Then threshold value, put here 1. It means when that is under attack. Go to next action. Okay, previous. Let me check what other things we need to modify here. Next action. We're just taking all the default options here. Next, details. So under details tab, here we have to give a alert rule name. Tagging, we are not giving any tags value, so then we can click on review plus create button, and then click on create to creating alert rule. You can see that alert rule created. So if we refresh, we will see that alert rule here. So it's pop up now. So now we'll do a test with simulation patterns. So for that, we can go to one page here. So if you open that page, how you can simulate that one. But the thing is, this is a lab environment. So you can go through this DDoS attack simulations. Let me bring that page here. So test simulation patterns. And you can see that you can set that up. And this is the link that I opened. But what we need to create a breaking point cloud. Then we can proceed with that on. But that is something you can do test yourself. So this is a lab environment, and I'm just not doing that part. So that's it for this lab section. Now we can proceed with our next one. that if you have any questions, add that into comment sections. See you in next lab.